Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Topics of the Town News. Today is May 9th, 2025, and I'm here by myself with my trusted turkey. My turkey is a standby because our other co hosts and invited guests have not been able to attend, but that's okay. We can handle, the turkey and I can handle this whole show. The agenda and the opinions are solely by the topics of the town host. Our guests, contributors, and commentators who are not present today. The subtitle for this particular show, and I'm using this freely because I believe it needs a separate subtitle. Select Board moves forward with a resolution to address airport issues. Outcome to be determined. We have gone through a resolution process where I formally supplied a resolution to the Board of Selectmen, to Mr. Bennett. And my resolution was presented to them on December 17th. We still do not have a final version of the resolution as presented by me, and has been revised and remarked on by many individuals at the last couple of meetings. But I'm patient, and I am looking forward to having that resolution presented and distributed to the proper authorities of our cities and towns that are being affected by Beverly Airport. So, I usually have a quote, and today I only have one, but it's very appropriate of what we're going through right now in town. No conflict can be solved so long as all parties are convinced they are right. And we have many of those parties. Solution is possible only when at least one party begins to consider how he or she might be wrong. And I've come to the conclusion that sometimes I get very aggressive about trying to get things done, but I'm also patient. So hopefully with the new Board of Selectmen, and I call them Board of Selectmen, Select Board, whatever you want to call them, they're the 5 fathers and mothers of this town. And just as a quick recollection of the past, yesterday I ran into our one woman that was on the Board of Selectmen back in 95, 96, I believe, Pam Bartlett. She looked great, relaxed. She doesn't have a worry, so she doesn't get involved in town government because it's tempting to get your fingers into the pie, but there are people that we've elected, and let them make the bed that we all are going to be sleeping in. So, town elections, topics of the day. Select Board race needed new blood to focus on solutions and not on excuses. Well, we did not get any new blood. We got old blood, and the current excuses that have been presented to our residents, and hopefully by having this election and being challenged by outsiders looking in, are two candidates, one candidate for re-election, Dan Bennett, current chairman of the board, and he's remaining as chairman as long as necessary to get through the town meeting. And returning Selectman Gardner Trask. Gardner has been on the board before for, I believe, 16 years, and Dan Bennett has probably 18 years of service. So I just hope that both Dan and Gardner take heed of the need new blood to focus on solutions and not on excuses. We do not need an explanation for every single act that takes place. We need action. So, welcome aboard. And Mr. Bennett was at the helm last night, and Mr. Trask was reinstated, and he's back on the board. So let's see what happens. The motto on the street has been, we need two responsible candidates to come out of the 7 to represent the needs of our town with authority. And like I said last week, 2 out of 5 does not make a vote, but 3 out of 5 does. So we need to know how this new board will align for our future businesses that we are working on. But they need to know what the issues are for our residents. And hopefully the residents and the voters have expressed their views to both our new candidates as well as our current candidates that have been elected or re-elected. It is great to be re-elected, but then they need to know what voters are in need of. And the primary objective of a Board of Selectmen or Select Board is to listen to the residents. Residents are the ones that put you in those spots, and we need results, and we need positive results instead of excuses. So, just to report to you on how many people are able to vote in this town, it is 23,405 are registered, our residents are registered to vote. 4,197 are Democrats. 2,496 are Republicans. There's 79 Libertarians, and there are 109 others. The unregistered or unenrolled, who we are all called unenrolled, there's 16,434. So I noticed in this particular election, there's been a lot of Democrat comments, Republican comments. There have been accusations of one party leading the other, and this town government does not have reliance on Republican or Democrat party. It is primarily an independent or required registered unenrolled voters, which are the 16,000. So the numbers that have been reported, and I went through just about an hour before the end of the voting, there were 3,000 some votes or ballots that were cast. And those ballots carry 2 seats for the Board of Selectmen, 1 seat for the school board, and 1 for the moderator. So the numbers were very well split up. And one of the things that I would like to report, and I need to report, is that the race for the select board was slanted towards the existing or incumbent candidates because there were just too many new candidates to run for the seat. If the seat for the new candidate or the total for the new candidates would have generated at least 1 seat that could have been obtained, and then we would have had a new Board of Selectmen that has not been indoctrinated into 16 or 18 years of service to the town. We need to make sure that our current board members hear from us, and they need to know what the needs of this town are. And we'll get to some of them because town meeting is coming up on May 19th, and we'll talk about several of the warrant articles that are coming up. The school committee incumbent candidate won. Gabe Lopes won with over 2,000 votes. However, there was a volunteer, Maxwell Rudin, that came out and stuck his head out and said, I want to be on the board of school committee board, because that school committee is so in tune with the administration that there is no difference right now. The school committee is not really representative of our townspeople, because all the school committee does is confirm the requirements that are dictated to them by the Department of Education for the state of Massachusetts, who funds a lot of the costs of the education in our town. However, our town commits almost 50% of the entire budget to the schools. And don't tell me that it is not 50%, because the administered amount that is administered by the school committee is about $56 million. But the other 30 or 25 to 30 is spent by the town on the buildings, grounds, maintenance of the schools. There are 5 grammar schools and a middle school and a high school. So those costs are never divulged until it's too late when we start looking at it, but they will be discussed at the town meeting. And I hope the town meeting members take it to heart that it is tax money that is being spent. And what are we getting for it? That's what we need to determine. So that is one piece of the story for the town of Danvers. The current stories that are going on right now, and I'll just flag them for the moment. Zoning issues. The MBTA zoning and the AFLA zoning for the housing for elderly and our whatever, AFLA. Larkin license, an entertainment license at the Essex Tech school was discussed last night, and boy, did they give them a beating. But they need to reorganize and come back with a definitive plan of what they want to do and how they want to do it, because the Board of Selectmen is going to be very tough on them. Town finances. The town budget is over $160 million. And the thing is that that budget will be approved by town meeting in less than 10 minutes. I'll grant you that right now. There's no discussion because there's so much, and I call it fat, but they call it free cash that's being bantered around, is that there are so many pockets of money that are being put away and the taxpayers are being totally ignored because we tax to the max. The town goes after every penny of our real estate taxes that are permissible by the 2.5% increase law. And the levy capacity has probably $10,000 to $100,000 left over for good looks, I guess. They go for every penny that there is. Town manager expectations. We understand that the town manager will be introduced at the May 12th meeting, and that is, well, that's next week. And I have been asking the question, who is Miss Cahill or Mrs. Cahill? We don't know. We need a clear representation and a resume of the individual that has been hired to be the town manager. When will the board introduce her? Well, right now what they're planning is on May 12th. She will be our newest employee that we will have with on-the-job training. Her position, current position, is an administrator in Gloucester, and she works directly with the mayor, who does the political thing, and the administrator does the day-to-day activities of running the town functions. In our town, the Board of Selectmen is supposed to be the mayor or political action group because they are elected, and our town manager is only an employee that functions as the administrator of all our activities that are being paid for by our real estate taxes and our state donations that we obtain from the state budget. So, one thing I want to make very clear, and I have tried to do that over and over again, is that our town manager has to be and is an employee of the Board of Selectmen, just like any other employee in town. We cannot rely and revert to a position where the town manager role is extended into making policy decisions for the town. That's not why she was hired. And that's not why the Board of Selectmen was elected. The Board of Selectmen has been elected to lead this town and provide the policies and procedures that the administrator or town manager will perform for us, because that's how the government is set up. We are going through a Town Manager Act and Town Charter review that is currently ongoing, and I have not been able to attend Wednesday's session, but I will try to do that in a very near future. Now, the current evaluation committee is going through the review of their comments and their revisions that they have made. However, I would suggest that we take a real close look, and not just me. This is the Board of Selectmen, the town people that are involved in how this town is run, because we're all part of it. We cannot just say, oh, they'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. That's why I have my little turkey here. Those are the people that rely on individuals to take control of what's going on. We need to be involved in the responsibility of running this town, because we are the ones that are paying the bill, and we have to rely on our elected officials. And that's where my initial comments about the new board members or new board member, it is time to listen before you start talking back. We need to understand what the town needs and not an administrator. Town meeting warrant articles. There are 36, I believe. No, well, let me just tell you. There are 39 warrant articles. Primarily, the first 35 are basically spending of our tax dollars or our free cash, our savings that have been accumulated. And this is great. But the thing is, we have to have a purpose for it. We cannot just skim off the taxpayers' payments and put them into a savings account for special projects that may come up or may not. I've already asked for a accounting of every one of those special accounts that have been set up and what the values are from last year to this year. So I hope to get that, and if not, I will ask that question at town meeting, even though I'm not a town meeting member, because every one of you has an opportunity to speak at town meeting if you want to. The town moderator will recognize you, but it's going to be after the discussion or debate that takes place on warrant articles by town meeting members, because we have an elected town meeting. However, just remember, we all have an opportunity to speak when we want to. So, if we go to the warrant articles, I am ready to roll here. I'm going to have to check my time because I'm halfway through. See, and you know what? I love to have my co-hosts or guests, but I have my turkey today, so I can talk to the turkey. And you know what? That turkey doesn't answer back. But what I want to bring up today is that there are 3 citizens' petitions. Now, again, this is something that has been objected to by our finance committee members because it allows a private citizen to submit a warrant article as a petition. And that is something that's built into our government and our government actions take place at town meeting. The town meeting is the legislative body that we all participate in, whether we're elected or not. So I know that we have gone through, and I've been chastised many times for submitting citizens' petitions because it's very easy. And it's an example of private involvement into our government because our government does not necessarily represent every single one of us. And if we have a gripe, let's put it on paper and submit it to town meeting. But the thing is, the Finance Committee doesn't like it. The Board of Selectmen doesn't like it because they are put on a list of questions that need to be addressed and raised, and politically it's unreasonable for them to consider because they don't want to get their hands dirty. So, what has happened this particular year, and last year was no different, but we have 3 this year, and one of them is submitted by me, and I have my name all over it, and I have another one that's submitted by Mr. McKenzie, and the third one is submitted by Mr. Morose. Now, all of them relate to the same subject. What I believe these 3 citizens' petitions are trying to raise the issue of how did we get to this position of overdevelopment, under-available parking, congestion, and reinvestment into the downtown. Now, downtown does need reinvestment, but it does not need to become a Rantoul Street with 5, 6, 7-story high buildings and making a wind tunnel where you go down Rantoul Street. In the beginning of this particular area is at the fire station, the old fire station on Maple Street. Currently, we see the results of the zoning that was passed, and whether it was passed with open eyes or asleep, I don't know. But the thing is, it does not represent what this town needs or wants, because that structure on Old Maple Square is a monstrosity that was never intended. However, my biggest problem with this is that it was dictated by a law that was passed by the legislature, and our representative and senator passed this thing without addressing it with us as residents, because the state needed housing. So they jammed everything down our throat, and that's how it became evident that it's not what we need. We have lost the vision for Danvers. Now, you will hear back and forth that, yes, we have been planning to reinvent downtown Danvers and provide an opportunity for the developers to put on a 3rd story on most of the 2-story buildings that are downtown. And there are areas where Mr. Lee had Hot Wat. Hot Wat was a disaster area, I agree. However, do we need that type of large 147 units in that one building without adequate parking, with more than congested area, 147 units. That means there's probably 300 people, at least 300 people that will be living and working and walking down the aisles or sidewalks. We had a discussion yesterday. How wide are we going to make our sidewalks? Are we going to provide bike paths now? Well, look at what happened on 114 in Salem and downtown Salem. That is a disaster of bike paths. We need to have a circular route that we can get to, whether it's walking, biking, or sledding when we get snow in the wintertime. Now, maybe the first thing that we should do is ask the industrial and commercial facilities to plow or remove the snow from the sidewalk, because we still have the town remove the snow from in front of the restaurants and establishments on Maple Street and on High Street. What is going on? We need some responsibility. So I just wanted to bring up these three articles. And the first article, they're in backwards order. So we have asked for the town moderator and the town meeting to take them up in reverse order of number 38 being first, 37 second, and 36 third, because that's how they came about. Mr. Morose and the group of residents at that time specified 3A to vote to rescind the 3A zoning made by prior approved warrant articles of town meeting. And I just did go through. This is what was voted on back in 2020, November 16th, 2020. And the thing is, ever since then, every year we've made further modifications because that particular one did not comply totally with the law that was passed and shoved down our throat by the state legislature. We have a gripe with our legislators, Sally Kearns and Joan Lovely, because that is not the way zoning is supposed to work in our community. This is Danvers. This is not Salem. This is not Beverly. We need to retain the culture and the environment of the town of Danvers. So that was an article that was presented, and it was submitted to our infamous Finance Committee member who has volunteered to review for a legal capacity of these articles. And the article went in, and then the town legal counsel said, no way, you're not going to be able to do this. You're going to have to go through all kinds of hoops to present article by article of all of the items that have been identified and approved by town meeting in the past. They gave us a time frame. It would have taken at least a year to 2 years to reverse anything if it could be reversed. So, as a result of that, Mr. McKenzie submitted another warrant article citizens petition, which said to see if the town will vote to have the planning department discuss and incorporate zoning bylaw updates to specifically address the overdevelopment created by the MBTA zoning requirements and of increased unit density and decreased parking requirements during the 2025 to 2026 normal zoning reviews and update public meetings, or take any other action thereof. So this was a statement that the citizens wanted to make to our government, who is legislated to by the town meeting, that we would like to reconsider some of the impact that we have created by knowing, unknowing, sleeping at the switch, whatever, but there are items in here that have changed our entire culture of this town, and this town will not look like it has in the past. Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but there is some resistance, and these are people that want to put this on the table and let them discuss it. So that was another one that was poo-pooed by the planning department, and the legal counsel again said, oh, you're asking for too much. Well, this is government in action, and the legal counsel of this town only represents town hall and not the people. So I'm sorry, but this needs to get moving. So that one was submitted, and this was more relaxed of how to approach this overdevelopment and overcongestion and the impact of what is going to be built further. We know that it cannot be reversed for the current ones, but it can be negotiated with the developers to represent something better, and that's where the zoning comes into play. And we will continue this because that is something that we cannot afford to let go all the way down to 128 through the square. Now, so that one is, we don't know where it's going to go. But as a result of what was happening to those two articles, and the second article doesn't rescind anything, it just says, okay, let's talk about it, and they don't even want to do that. So, therefore, Article 36, Citizens Petition, Repeal of Zoning. Now, I put together this article in 5 minutes after I got notified that these other two were going to be poo-pooed, and to see if the town meeting will vote to direct the town to prepare the necessary articles and meet all other requirements to repeal zoning changes adopted to comply with the MBTA mandate, or take any other action. This is an effort to expand number 37, to at least have the town government, basically, the planning department and the Board of Selectmen, to consider what changes can we make All this is asking for is what changes can we make to reverse the current zoning that's being imposed on us. And I know that we've heard already that it is not being imposed, it is being effective after the town meeting votes. And I don't know about you, but I've gone through town meeting, and some of the members at town meeting don't even open up their booklet to vote on items on the 30 some or 40 articles that come before them. So it's a yes vote all the way around. Very little discussion, very little debate, because they don't want to stay there any longer than 10 o'clock. It must be bedtime by 10 o'clock. I don't know about you, but I don't go to bed at 10. So we used to have debates and discussions, but now we are restricted because these articles went through the Board of Selectmen. They all came back with either no action or negative response. They went to the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee got offended because citizens wanted to submit a petition to them. And I don't know what they have to do with this. Their function is to determine whether we're funding and where's the money coming from. These articles don't have anything to do with that. But that's an old issue. I understand. I don't agree with it. But the Finance Committee wants to have their debate. Fine. If they want to make the policies that the Board of Selectmen should be making, then why don't you run for office and run for Board of Selectmen? And then you find out what you can do and what you cannot do. So it's a debate society at the Board of Selectmen. At the Finance Committee. And the one problem is that they need to respect the filing of citizens' petitions and not criticize them because they don't have enough time to spend on these issues. If you don't have enough time to spend at the Finance Committee meetings, which are held once a year, then you shouldn't be on the Finance Committee at all. You should go on to the School Committee. Maybe that'll make you feel better. The thing is, I do not believe that we're allowing or permitting citizens to approach the town meeting. And by approaching, we have to go through the Board of Selectmen. We get criticized. The citizens get criticized. The names, now they want to go and check the names if they are actually residents of this town. Well, that's how it's done. You need to be a resident to have a petition drawn on your subject. So that's the one thing that I wanted to bring up. But Town Charter Review is another. Town Charter Review has attempted to identify why the town meeting does not work, why the town meeting members don't get involved, and they should be involved in every single one of these meetings. The Town Charter Review Committee has debated whether to cut back to the 96 members instead of the 144 that we have right now. They have originally started debate on whether we should be a city or a town. A city would have a 9-member board of councilors, and that would expedite getting these things through because they would have the responsibility for town meeting and the board of selectmen all in one. I don't know if we're ready for that, but I would support it because that would eliminate the bickering that goes on in the background. So, that's my say on that subject, and we will continue on evolving the town charter review, and we will get more involved in reporting on it after the town meeting. The next item that I want to talk about is the Beverly Airport, my favorite subject. And too bad that my turkey does not represent Beverly Airport, or it doesn't represent Tony. He's missing. So that's why I put the turkey up there, but that's okay. Even Tony gets to be a turkey once in a while. I will take the turkey any day. At least they don't talk back. So what I wanted to do is, during the last two selectmen's meeting, I have been presenting many different things in regards to the Board of Selectmen resolution addressing concerns over the Beverly Airport. And I will not go into much detail on that because that's been a subject for discussion, and it has been resubmitted to the current Board of Selectmen. And I was very disappointed last night that it wasn't brought up to the table and for discussion, because it was discussed by everyone except one at the previous meeting, and that's where the comments came from, and I made those resolutions. So, one thing that I want to do is I'm going to get into a lot more detail on the Beverly Airport, and I have a film from the previous meeting that's being run on Channel 36 and Comcast station of the meeting, the second Monday of April. We have another meeting coming up this coming Monday at the Beverly Airport, and I don't even know if I want to go and attend it, but I have been filming these for you, and please take a look at it. One other thing that I wanted to get across is we have a request from one of our guests that shows up and sits in on the show, Bill Kossawan. And I've also spoken to David McKenna. And we have an announcement that they asked me to make, is that I would like you to put a plug-in on your show about an upcoming Danvers historic event. And the attachment is, and Greg, if you can show that, there are 2 performances that will be shown on May 17th at $20 each, but it does include a tea party. The one on Wednesday, the 21st, is free but does have a tea party as well. So the Historic Society is, this is a revolutionary tea on the Gambrel roof with tea and cake, Danvers Historic Society. And it's a worthwhile event that brings about the historic um, situation in our town, and I'll just read you a very quick. Um, in about 1770, when the British monarchy started taxing tea in the colonies, Jeremiah told Sarah that no tea shall be drunk in this house. However, while her husband was away one day, Sarah and two friends secretly had their tea on the roof of the house, in Sarah's words, "Upon the house is not within it." So she was still obeying the husband's wishes. This story was told to Anne Page, Jeremiah's granddaughter, by family friends many years later. Anne then told it to her friend Lucy Larcom, the famous Beverly poet. So this is a historic event, but it's a fun event. It's an event where you can come and listen to the poetry and the historical events that have happened, and they make our life more relevant to what has happened in the past. So, thank you, Bill. I will do this for your presentation, and that is scheduled for, I believe, May 17th and May 21st. Yeah, Saturday, May 17th, which is next week, and at $20, which is worthwhile, and is include a tea party. The one on Wednesday, the 21st, is free, but does have a tea party involved. So enjoy the tea party, because that is something that we should be proud of. Bill also advised me that General Gage Park, which is down by Sylvan Street across from the bank. Danvers Bank used to be there. I guess it's no longer Danvers. But there's a plot of land that's going to be dedicated as the General Gage Park, because General Gage, which you've seen a presentation from the past that I did, came to Danvers because they got tired of getting tomatoes thrown at them in Boston. So they came to Sylvan Street and Salem. This was Old Salem Village, and this is where their headquarters was. So the Historic Society has demonstrated the fact that there is a plot of land that's available there, and they are planning on developing that as a memorial to that site. So, welcome aboard to our historic 250 year Revolution 250 Discover Danvers. This is a endeavor by the Historic Society, and next show will be on, I believe, May 16th, which is a Friday again. And I hope you enjoyed the Friday time frame, because Friday at 12:30, I have the studio all to myself. But I sometimes get lack of guests. But who can make it? That's fine. Me and my turkey can handle this thing all the way through. So I hope you have been educated and can respond to some of the factual information that I've presented. And one other thing that I want to do is I am still pursuing the history of the development of the Town Charter and Town Manager Act that was prepared and developed in the 1949-1950 year. And I'm hoping to do a historic preservation with Peter Zook, because he is the one that brought this up to my attention, and I am reviewing the material right now. It's 111 pages of material, of history of what happened during that first year when they developed the Town Charter and the Town Manager Act. Now, ever since then, it's been evolving, but it may evolve further. So, I want to thank everyone for participating in this show. I am solely responsible for any comments, and I hope if you do have questions, please give me a call or call DCAT, and they will forward that information to me. And what I want to do is thank you very much. And I'm also working on a Crease and Cook Superfund site that we are endeavoring into, and that will be coming up supposedly in April and May. I haven't seen them yet. So, good night, good afternoon, good morning. Enjoy the day and listen to the show. Thank you.